Hey everybody, I've been wanting to do this video for some time. It involves more of a deep dive somewhat into tool use in Emacs with gptel for basically doing agentic types of activities with LLMs and more importantly or more specifically or in addition to using the Model Context Protocol, MCP. So MCP is a type of protocol definition created by Anthropic a couple months ago, some months ago, I don't know. One cannot keep track of linear time these days, but it has been implemented within Emacs in various ways and integrated with gptel through a collaboration, which is really quite interesting. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is that gptel has a, let's call it a native way of doing tool usage. And I'm going to, let's take a look at that right now. I'll look at my, actually let me get rid of that polybar. And I'm going to look at my configuration for Emacs. When I look at it, let's see, I have a source buffer here somewhere, so let's get rid of that. I'm going to look for gptel, and I'm going to look, I'll narrow to this and then look for tools, custom tools, and I'll narrow to that. Okay, on the README for the gptel project in GitHub, you will see this is how we make a tool with gptel. And one thing that you can do with it is you use gptel make tool for every tool you want to create that is written in Emacs Lisp. So here the example given from the website is create a file. So we have a bunch of keys here. The name of the thing, which is a JavaScript style snake case name. So create underscore file, not create dash file, not create space file or anything like that. You give it something that would be like a function that you would make in JavaScript. Then we have a key called function. And in this case, we're simply defining the function inline. We're making an unnamed lambda function that has path, file name, and content passed to it. Okay, and then we simply do what we need to do: insert the content that was passed into a temp buffer and write the file to the path that was given, and then indicate that we've done that. Okay. Then the description in tools across the board, any kind of tool that you provide to an LLM, no matter how it's defined, needs a nice description so that the LLM can figure out when and how to use that function. Actually, when and why to use that function is the real way to say that. Because the how will then be, the how to call it will be indicated in the other arguments, like the, whether or not there are required and optional arguments and so forth. But make good descriptions for the LLM to use. It is very likely that your LLM, whilst you are using tools, is going to have a huge menu of tools to use. And they should be very clear in what they do, or how they're described. Okay, enough said. Then in this case we have an argument list. So we have the path that we're passing it, which is a type of string, and it has a description of its own. We have file name, also a string, and we have the content, which is what we're going to put into the file. And then we make a category entirely arbitrary, up to us. Again, something that is helpful, this would be helpful for you when you go to select categories of tools to provide your LLM in a given conversation, but also to the LLM. All right, that's all there is to it. I have made a number of additional tools, and we'll take a quick look at a couple of them. We have list files and directories. I created with a category of file system also. And then in this case, I did what I did with every one of the other tools that I made, is I made a function of its own, kind of a standalone function, to do the thing, and then simply referred to that function in the function keyword of gptel make tool. All right, enough said there. I've got, here's get weather forecast. I have more than one way to get the weather, so I was experimenting with that a bit. Answer questions about my home. This is an idea I got from Home Assistant, where you just simply have a text string of things to answer about your house for house guests that the automation in your house can use. And then let's say there's a reflection. What do I actually call this category? I call it reflection. You could call it reflection, introspection, something like that, which is a whole set of tools. If I look at this entire heading, I'll see the subheadings. We're going to have a tool that returns the README for any Emacs package, or return the source for an Emacs package. And what I did with that function is you can return the source only the main source file for that package, or all source files for that package, if the LLM decides to ask for the full layout of the entire package. Return a function source, return Emacs variable values. So I'm doing all these things that we do with Control HV, Control HF to get help on various things. And then anything revolving reflection would be, okay, let's kind of introspect Emacs itself, or let's introspect the operating system. So I also have things like going for info manuals and going for man pages in the OS as well. And I'm going to be adding quite a bit to this. This is all my own code, cold room type of thing, because there is a source that you can find of these types of tools, but it's behind a paywall, and there's a whole, I would love to support the person, but if I take that code and then put it in my own repository, that will be free without a paywall, and then am I violating a license? It's a damn shame. But let's make all our tools free to use, please. Okay, enough said. So the way it looks in an Emacs buffer, let me get to a new ChatGPT buffer. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm just going to type gptel. And I'm going to say, yes, let's create a new buffer called ChatGPT. We'll see that I'm sending media here, kind of by default. The way I have my variables configured, it's always set to that. So if I want to send images and so forth, I can do that as part of our conversational terms. I have a default prompt, and then if I hit Control U, Control C, Enter, then I'm going to get to this. So my default prompt is there, and I see when I get here, I do not have tools. Please hold. Let me go back to whatever I did to break this. Oh, I know. I see what I did. I'm sorry. I have usually I have used tools on as part of my default values for these things. In this case, I had toggled it off, so I'm going to toggle it back on. So I do -T, and it says, yes, I want to enable the use of tools. Now I have something called select tools. I'll hit a T to do that, and you'll see some of the things that we were looking at, like the web tools and the reflection tools, are already selected. Why? Because I had a previous session going where they were selected. Generally speaking, you would find yourself in a buffer where nothing was selected, and you can decide what you're going to do. I'm going to say, okay, for the session that I want to start now, I want all the reflection tools active, I want the web tools active, and I want the file system tools active. And then, in addition, we have a couple other things that are very interesting. One is confirm tool calls. You'll notice when you use, like if you've used Claude Desktop or whatever, I think the default behavior is that when the AI wants to use a tool, you have to confirm that it's okay to do so. So you can also do that in gptel. The choices are always have the human in the loop to confirm, or the tool can decide whether or not it wants to ask for confirmation, or don't even bother with it. If the tool wants to do it, do it. Okay? So I will say, let's say always, because it's interesting to watch. And then include results is the other one, -I. So do we want to include the result of the tool call in our conversational context? Do we want to do it always? Can the tool decide, or do we never do it? And if you never do it, you will not see the tool being called. But the LLM will have the information that it got from, for instance, the web search, for example. So it's always nice to say, let's put it in, especially for a demo, although it causes the problem of you cluttering up the context and have a lot more input tokens for your subsequent turns. So that one's a mixed bag. But we'll put it here for the demo to say yes. And then I hit return to confirm all that. I'm going to hit Control G to get out of this. And actually I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to change the prompt. I'm going to change the prompt to be something that is more appropriate for tool usage. And just so you see what that looks like. It says, you should plan, execute, and reflect on the tool usage. So choose a single best tool or best seeming tool, execute the tool, and immediately then look at the output. Was it successful? Was the result empty? Did I get an error? If not, then think through the strategy again and go back through this process. Because what you'll notice is you'll say, go check my downloads directory, and it doesn't find a downloads directory. And therefore, it just goes on and makes something up, or it doesn't even complain that it threw an error. You have to say, look, we're using tools, and I want you to intelligently use them, and there is a process to that. So that's what this prompt is all about. Okay, let me accept that. Okay, so I'm going to say, I have made available some tools for your use at your discretion. Let's see what they are again. I know a good one. Could you look up the script for the first episode of Nick Danger Private Eye? Let me know some of the key catch phrases from that dialogue. Thanks in advance. All right, and that's, I'm not saying what Nick Danger Private Eye is all about, but let's see what it does. And I'm using the O4 Mini model, which I've been using a bunch of models. I've been using Gemini 2.5 Pro for coding things, as well as Claude, especially like the Opus 4 and Sonnet 4 as well. And Anthropic has been driving me nuts with extremely tiny, ridiculous rate limits that make a session just unusable. And then Gemini has gone off in the weeds many times, although it's quite pleasant personality-wise, you might say. And O4 Mini is amazing. It's just spot on. It's really, really thorough. It is usually correct in its code, and it does not give me any personality whatsoever if I don't prompt for it, which is fine by me. Let's just get down to business. Anyway, let's see what this does. So we're waiting. The O4 models, it's asking me already if I want to approve tool use. So I will say yes with the Control-C, Control-C. And then it's searching through the web. Now it's going to look for the transcript. It found a page it wants to read. And let's see if this is successful. We hope so. Don't crush that dwarf. Hand me the pliers. Cut them off at the pass. Oh, it's looking up more than one transcript, or it's not finding the transcript. Perhaps. This is a lot of tool use to do one thing. Okay, well, it was thorough. Let us look at what first what we have. So I've got, I'm going to turn off org modern mode, just so we can more clearly see what it's writing. So it writes these things into code blocks, or something similar to that in org mode. Begin tool, and end tool. So the first thing is it did this search web using DuckDuckGo as my tool does, and then looking for specifically transcripts, and then reading web pages. And I don't know why it did so many searches, and it read 2 pages from those searches. So who knows? So the whole world is spinning. Now it's lucky for us. If it were flat, all the Chinese would fall off. Sound of Nancy falling. She's no fun. She fell right over. Well, she's no fun. She fell right over. So this is from Firesign Theater back in the day. And I don't know if these are the greatest catchphrases, but anyway, it did its thing, and we have proved our point. All right, I am getting out of here, and I'm going to go to our next section, which is Model Context Protocol servers. So it's one thing to write your own or find to find tools written in Emacs Lisp. It's cool, it's nice, it's really fun. My web search things are unbelievably simplistic. They're like, to read a web page, I'm just running links-dump. That's it. But it puts the links in line. It doesn't clutter up with HTML and JavaScript and CSS and all that kind of stuff. And it's very, very simple for the LLM to understand. Just plain text. Okay. But the fact is, Model Context Protocol is super popular, and that means community contributions are just off the charts. Let's take a look here. There was a blog post, wow, all the way back in November of 2024. I did not realize that. Still just a few months old. And when you go and look for example, MCC servers, you will find many lists of them to do many different things, okay? And all of them will give an example of how you configure it for Claude Desktop. And this is going to be very handy for our use. Now, for integration with gptel, the maintainer of that project decided that there are going to be many people writing packages for MCP. And therefore, he wanted to find the best ones and find out which maintainers of those repositories he could collaborate with. So that's exactly what he did. And if I go to, let's see, let's just bring up GitHub and look for mcp.el. That is not it. This is it. So this repository, mcp.el, implements Model Context Protocol for Emacs, just apart from gptel, just completely apart from it. It lets you manage MCP servers. And notice how I put servers in air quotes. We'll get to that in just a moment. It's so marvelous what we do with this stuff. It's so cool. Let me show you my config. mcp.el. Right here, I have my current list of MCP servers that I'm using. I'm using a file system one that uses Node npx, and all we do is when that server is required, when that tool is used by the LLM, going through the MCP protocol, which is a standard for how things are communicated to and from these commands. That's really what it is. Then we're passing npx-y at model context protocol / server file system, and then I'm giving it a list of directories that are allowed to be searched, and so forth. And then let's look at something else. This is another node one. So the MCP servers could be implemented in absolutely any language. TypeScript and Node and Python are extremely common, as we'll see even here for my MariaDB read-only tool. I have a command that invokes UVX in a specific Python virtual environment. And it calls the MCP server MariaDB. What really this is it's a Python package that if it's not installed in this environment already, it will be installed as soon as you start the server. Okay? And then various other things, another UVX, and then when we look at this GitHub one, this is GitHub's official MCP server. It uses a Docker container, simple as can be. So we're just doing Docker run, and then using an environment variable called GitHub Personal Access Token, which I am not placing in my config directory directly. Instead, I'm calling my special little function gjg auth info secret with the key MCP server GitHub and the user Gregory G. In order to get that access token. So this is a huge thing. It's built into all kinds of things. It's built into gptel for sure. And what I do is I have an authinfo.gpg encrypted file that has all my keys in it. So they're either passwords, like passwords to a database, or API keys for many different kinds of APIs. And for this is just an example. User is optional. If it's needed, it's used. And then you have the password that's not shown to you until you click on it in this interface here. So all I'm doing is I put a backtick here instead of a single quote to my list of lists for the MCP hub servers, and then that allows me to then escape with a comma a call to something rather than having to put the key in directly. All right, that's just Emacs Lisp stuff. So the way we start it is we say MCP hub, and that will start, let me do that again. That will give us a list of servers. In this case, everything is stopped. If I hit uppercase S, it will start everything. And what that means by starting them is that it will actually do the command that's talked about here. Something can be kind of traditional client server with TCP and port, TCP IP and port, or it can be standard I/O. And we can see that if you notice in Docker, it says Docker run -- interactive. That means even though this thing goes into the background, keep standard I/O connected to whatever started it. So these things are purely local. They're purely talking versus via standard in and standard out. It's slick as hell. I just love it. Okay, now let's go back to our ChatGPT, which I think I killed, so let's do it again. Open a ChatGPT, and this time when I hit Control-U-C, Enter, and I look at tools, I have the same tools that I had before, but I have this M+ and M-. I'm not entirely being complete here because there is one other step that we have to do to get this integration running. It's not loaded by default in gptel. We have to say require gptel-integrations. So that's like a separate source file within the gptel package that if we have that, then when we go to look at tools, we will see these MCP things. And it's talking with the mcp.el package. And it's just kind of, this is kind of like putting a front end on top of that. It's very nice, very easy to use. And I can say M+ to add the servers. Now it's saying which of these MCP servers do you want to add? And I'm going to show you how quickly you can get yourself into problems. I'm going to choose all of them. And look at this. We have a ton of tools now. By category, the category is the server, basically in this case. So MCP GitHub. I have a problem now with using the transient interface here, because if I use my mouse wheel to scroll, it doesn't do anything. If I use my arrow keys, it's sometimes effective, and the page up and page down work. So I've got the GitHub tools, which there's a lot of stuff that category of tools can do, that server can do. I've got the travel planner with connection to Google Maps. I've got terminal controller to really do scary things to your file system. I've got Neo4j's movies kind of example database tool for that. MariaDB, memory tools, which I'm not very happy with right now. I'm writing my own memory tools to give the LLMs memory across sessions, and it's going to be based purely text using the denote package to make things easier. And I'm very excited about that. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It helps the LLM plan, just like many Claude demonstrations show, where it's creating like a planning.md and making checklists for itself and checking those things off. So it's the same thing that I can do with any LLM using org mode features and the denote package to make the file naming meaningful and such like that. So anyway, very much fun. And then all of the tools that I already had written in Emacs Lisp are also here. So the reason this can actually be problematic is if we look, I'm going to hit Control-U-C, Enter again. If we look at the context that is sent to the LLM. I'm going to choose the inspect query JSON. And let's just look at this whole thing. First of all, how many lines? 3,323 lines. I have a system prompt and no other prompt and no other context history yet, and it's 3,000 plus lines just with definitions of tools. This is part of what was causing me rate limit headaches with Anthropic models, because their API throttling is just insane. So be aware of this. You're going to be wanting to be really selective in what tools you have. Anyway, that's not really the point of this. I just want, oops, let me do G2. Okay, I accidentally sent that. All right, what else do I want to show? All right, let me get into some finer grained selection of tools, and we'll do a couple things and then finish this up. Oh, the last thing is, it is possible, of course, to write MCP tools in Emacs Lisp for use by other environments. Like, you can write your tools in Emacs Lisp and make them available to Claude Desktop and Cursor and Windsurf and Klein and VS Code and all those other things as well. So, you know, it all goes around. All right, so let's see. Tools. I would like to remove all MCP server tools, and I'll shut down the servers as well. Why am I doing that? I don't know. And then I'm going to get rid of I'm going to turn off the file system tools that I wrote. The only thing I want to do additionally is let's see if this works. M+, I want to add GitHub. Oh, it's not running. Okay, let me go to MCP Hub. Please hold, please bear with me. I will start the file system service and the GitHub service so that we can use them here. So select tools, M+, GitHub, which gives us a lot, and one more, where's file system? Let me go back to, sorry, I have to get out of this before I can do anything, because the transient interface takes over and holds like you can't believe. Okay, so back to ChatGPT. I might not be able to add it, but I don't know why. M+. Yeah, it's not showing me the file system set of tools. Don't know why, folks. So let's go forward with just the GitHub one and see what it looks like. All right. Hey there. I have made available some tools. Could you give me a summary of my repo called Home Lab? Thanks. And I want to do one more thing. I want to change the confirm tool thing to tool decides, so we won't have to give confirmation to everything. All right, Let's see what it does. There's a trick to this because generally speaking, search repositories, there we go. And then, whoa! Oh, I love it. This is the most efficient yet. I'm telling you, this 04 Mini is the bomb. It is very, very intelligent with tools. I need to test my new tool use prompt a little bit more to see if it helps other models that get completely lost. So what is unique about this? And let's see what it actually did. I think it did some stuff that wasn't necessarily... Yeah, this is file system stuff that it didn't need to do. So I think it kind of got lost in there. But then it said search repositories, query home lab. I'm surprised this worked. Oh, it did not find my home lab. Okay, it found someone else's repository named home lab. I say, interesting, but I was asking specifically for my repo named home lab. Now, this seems tricky, but there is something in the tool, in the list of tools for GitHub, that says get me. So it says get details of the authenticated GitHub user. Use this when the user asks for my repo. So it should be able to pick up on that. Let's see if it does. It's doing list directory, specifically very wrong. It's finding my projects directory, but that's irrelevant. It's doing the same thing all over again. So this is disappointing. Of course, I've had perfect results with things that I was running before I actually made the video. You're wasting your time, dude. All right, I'll give it one more hint. I'm not going to be too specific about that. The GitHub tools specifically allow you to find my user and then grab the README from the relevant repository on my GitHub account. Sorry. Should have specified GitHub earlier. I actually didn't, and I said get, yeah, anyway, didn't I say? Yeah, anyway. All right, let's see what it does. This should be interesting, because what I've seen is that the LLMs go after something called readme.md, and of course I'm readme.org, and it doesn't find readme.md and either gives up, or it says, oh, I should look for readme.rst or txt or readme just by itself, and they never find it. But eventually they have to figure out that they can list all the files at the root level of the repository and just look for anything and just pick out whatever looks like README and then bring that particular file in. So it looks like it might have done that. All right, it worked. Now, if we look at the history of this tool use, it did something that did not look useful. In name user Greg J. Oh. Incomplete results. So that wasn't a successful call. There are kind of too many tools in that GitHub MCP server, I gotta say. It would confuse the best of us. So then it gets me, so it learns that my GitHub username is Gregory G, and that's the one that I'm authenticated to with this MCP server. And then, what's it doing here? Oh, get file contents of readme.md. Sure enough, it went straight for it. Branch master. And that did not work. Not found. It went listing my directory again, which does not make any sense. That was not good. Search code. Okay, now it's searching code, looking for file name readme, and it sees readme.org. So the tool was lenient enough that it brought back that, and then it said, oh, I see a readme.org in that list of stuff, therefore I'll get the file contents for that. And then it was able to give me a summary. So this has been a quick tour of looking through, adding MCP tools, which are vast and amazing. Let me do one more thing. MCP, let's see. Let's look at GitHub's official MCP server, and I'm going to show you how you do the configuration in mcp.el. I did skip that before. So the big thing is look for usage with Claude Desktop. That's the easiest thing to do. And then when I go back to this thing, what I did is I added something called GitHub, right? And it's a cons list you do, and then I copied from this basically. I looked at it and said, okay, the key is GitHub. There's my key. That's what the server is called. The command is Docker. The args, notice that that's in a vector here. I put in a list. Run --name. I give it a name. --interactive, which is what that -i is. --rm to remove the container once it's stopped. Give it an environment. -e, -env. I prefer to have the double dash things. That's the thing, and then there's the image, and then there is an environment section. Again, this is put into an object here. It's put into a list, and instead of having a string, we make a key. You just look at a couple examples and you realize, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's how we do it. And then I called my access token auth.info secret for MCP server GitHub user Gregory G to get that whole thing. That's all you do. That's all you do. And if you do not have this image pulled down, if you've never run it before, as soon as you start the server in MCP Hub, it will download the Docker image and run the whole thing. The same thing with the UVX command. It will install the package into the virtual environment that you specify, and everything runs. So, very last section, very last thing. I'm not going to go into any depth at all, but something that's really cool. If I can remember where it is. Oh, I know where it is. I have it written down. Let's go to GitHub. And instead of Liz Quer Scott, we're going to go to Lowry Naz. Right here. Someone wrote an Emacs Lisp implementation of the model protocol, a model context protocol server library. So in that case, if you can imagine, in your Claude Desktop or in Klein or Windsurf or whatever you're using, you would put your configuration in, and instead of UVX or NPX or Docker, you would use Emacs client as your command to start that service. So that's something I haven't done yet, but I want to do it and actually see it working in Claude Desktop. That would be very much fun. All right, that's all I have for now, and I hope it was instructive and entertaining as always. I will link. What will I need to link? Links to my configuration for mcp.el and the relevant types of configuration for gptel in my GitHub repository, as well as links for some of the packages that are used in MCP server that we showed, and this particular one here, and anything else that I think about that will be useful and fun to check out. This is outrageous fun, so I hope it was enjoyable. Thank you.